Hi, it's Nash from AlphaFi. Today I'm going to go over a case study of a client who found me on YouTube and shared their goals right off the bat and said, hey, this is exactly what I'm looking for. And I love a challenge, and it wasn't an easy challenge, and so I wanted to share that with you here. We always like to come up with options that are intended to meet the client goals, and so this was a really fun exercise and I wanted to share it with you all. So here were his goals: greater than 90% cash value in the first year. That's obviously a very high amount of liquidity coming back that you can access in a tax-free manner and redeploy into real estate. This particular person is a real estate investor, true to my heart. Second, an early break-even point, say around year 3 ideally. So really want to see that money, all that money put into the policy, having more in cash value than he's put in. Goal number 3, greater than 4% net IRR on cash value. So he already knows dividends are a gross value, and therefore we want to look at net IRR on cash value growth to make sure the efficiency is meeting his needs. And then really just even said, hey, I don't care about the death benefit, squeeze it down as much as possible. So, you know, that's normally extra expenses, but we do need a certain amount of death benefit to satisfy the MEC or modified endowment contract requirements or the IRS requirements so that it remains tax-free and we can access that money in a tax-free manner. So, demographics. We looked at him, but we also looked at his wife. So females are generally a little more efficient because at the same age as a male, they're expected to live longer. Therefore, the insurance cost is less. And she was in great health. For funding, it was maybe about 25 per year target max, a little bit of flexibility, and okay to go above 25,000 in the first year. He had watched some of my other videos about how overfunding in the first year beyond the normal 1090 target could be beneficial to juice up the policy and really allow for large compounding to take hold in the second year and thereafter. About 7 years funding horizon was his desire, and then ability to stop, and flexibility. So didn't want this to be a bill every year, which some companies kind of require that payment on the same day every year. Didn't want to have that bill come in at that higher amount or 25,000, but rather, you know, commit to a minimum, say 10% of the target funding, so about 2,500, and then have the ability to go up to the maximum, so a little more flexibility there. So let's dive in and look at some options that we looked at together. So when thinking about these goals and the products selection, here's kind of what came to my mind right away. One of the goals is high early cash value. Okay, but the problem with the high early cash value, even though we'd have greater than 90% in the first year, is that it likely isn't going to break even until year 5. Because how they do that is they spread the fees out, and so you really get high early cash value, but because the fees are spread out, it still breaks even around year 5. So that would probably hit the IRR, but not get close to that break-even point. Traditional, this is essentially death benefit product, and so we cross that one off the list. The limited pays and the hybrids are really good products. So the L95 certainly for that overfunding, that flexibility, and really strong cash value performance, and then the limited pays as well. The problem with the limited pays is that they do have a good amount coming back to cash value in year 1, but the challenge there is going to be there's still higher fees in the first couple of years because there's a limited premium paying period, and so again on that break-even point it may not be as early as possible. So we looked at a few different products within these buckets, but really ended up honing in on the L95 and what that might have to offer with different funding outlays. So let's dive into that. Alright, so this is what we were looking at. I started with a flat 7-year fund of $25,000. So $25,000 coming out of pocket in year 1. That brings $21,106 into cash value in the first year. You can access it within 10 business days. that has a 15% hit or 84% coming back to cash value for access. So you could see the tracking of the goals up here right above the scenario. So this hits the 4% IRR, but doesn't hit on the break even, which are the highlighted areas here in year 3, or the 90% in year 1. The worst year for a life insurance policy is the first and maybe the second year, where you really overcharge for that death benefit due to those base premium dollars and basically nothing coming back into cash value with most products in those first couple of years, and then it gets much better after that. But the goals really here are centered around having a lot of liquidity up front and early break-even points. So the flat funding wasn't really going to do it, and so we moved on to other options. This second one here is 25 for 7 years, but in year 1, boosting up the amount of contributions into PUAs by keeping that base premium the same and allowing for a much bigger dump into the liquidity in year 1. So we were able to get over that 90% goal in year 1, coming back to cash value. So $68,000 out of pocket, $62,661 in cash value you can access within 10 business days, and 92%. So minimizing the amount percentage-wise that is being hit in year 1 because of that much bigger contribution into PUAs. So instead of 1090, it was about a 595. And then continuing those contributions here. So in year 2, 25,000 out of pocket, so going back to that flat fund. So this is really just juicing it up in year 1 and then going back to the flat funding. So 25,000 out of pocket, basically between these two values here, the growth in cash value, you're having 25,000 plus an additional 1671. So it's no longer acting like a bill. There's actually money coming back into cash value because you've overcome those fees and expenses. So you have a net growth of $1,671. Okay, so that's because you've really juiced up the PUAs, added a bunch of cash value. Those dividends are higher, buying more PUAs, and you're overcoming those expenses much quicker. And then by year 3, 118 out of pocket, 116,270 in cash value, and by year 4, 143 out of pocket, 144. So broken even in year 4, almost year 3, and still hitting the 4% IRR here. But let's see if we can get even closer on the break even for year 3. So what we did here is juice up the dumping into PUAs even more by not touching the base premium. And so we have 165 out of pocket in year 1, 156,000 coming back to cash value that you can access within 10 business days. Even higher percentage coming back in terms of access to the liquidity, just because we were pumping even more into the PUAs. So minimizing that hit in year 1 on a percentage basis. You'll see the IRR is better in year 2, so even more coming back, right? The same 25,000. We've grown by 25,000 plus 3,723. So because of that large dumping in year 1, we're already starting to compound and seeing those bigger numbers. And that's why as you continue here, we're getting closer and closer to that year 3 break even. So 215 out of pocket, 213,993 in year 3. So we didn't quite get this one to break even in year 3, but very close. And then by year 4, 240 out of pocket, 243 in cash value. So a few things I'd say here. This is a 55-year-old female, so not old but not young either. So that's one contributing factor why we weren't able to get it to cleanly break even in year 3. I'd say she's in very good health as well, but if she was around 50 or right around there, we'd probably get it to break even. The second thing is that although we're looking at these different options, they may not be willing to accept the option of dumping in this much money into PUAs, maybe from a diversification standpoint or from having that money available, and that's totally okay, but I just want to make sure everybody has the options in front of them and we can kind of work through different scenarios that'll best meet their needs. So I hope this case study was helpful for you. Let me know if you have any questions. Please smash that like button, hit the subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon. Thank you. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Also, you can learn more at alphacrusaders.com at the link at the end of this video.